Bonjour, Dr. Akinola.
Bonjour.
How are you?
I'm fine, and
Uh,
how are you?
yeah, I'm good. We're meeting is the third edition. We just launched on this edition a wonderful book.
Mm.
So we want to just to give a brief summary of the book to the listener, title, and why was it written.
Thank you so much. We held the first African Union Studies annual symposium in November 2022. And during that gathering of 168 people across the continent and even from the African diaspora, we tried to engage the performance of the African Union for the past 20 years. And the discussions dovetails into all of the different themes and aspects of the activities of the African Union. And at the end of the symposium, we commissioned most of the participants to write chapters, and we put those chapters together and we edited it as a book. My co-editor is also Professor Kabele Matlosa, and the book, about 845 page and 30 chapter book, interrogated the performance of the African Union, particularly in relation to fulfilling the mandate of Agenda 2063. So the book we launched 2 days ago was actually a product of the first annual African Union Symposium, which was held in 2022. And what did the book actually interrogated? One of the main objectives of the book was to also popularize the Agenda 2063, revitalize the Pan-African vision, and try also to not just criticizing but critiquing the performance of the African Union while noting that the African Union is not a supranational organization like the European Union, but most of the chapters in the book also align with the fact that with greater commitment, with the willpower, and with maybe more dedication of the members to the African Union project, that the African Union could be more energized and strengthened to be an effective Pan-African agency for peace, security, and development on the continent.
So, what brings us to the third edition of the symposium? I would like to know what inspired the focus on the new scramble for Africa, especially in the theme of the year.
Thank you so much. As we know, the theme of the year is all about reparations, not just for continental Africa, but for also African in the diaspora. Wherever you see an African child, this is the year for that African child to claim redress from the hundreds of years of slavery, of colonialism, of neo-colonialism, and even this current I say current or aggravated scrambling for African resources, particularly mineral resources. And that was why we don't want to just focus on reparations, because reparation is constructed about the ills of all of the slavery colonialism, but we also are beginning to understand that most of the conflicts in Africa can still be traced to the root or the ills of slavery, colonialism, and also neo-colonialism. So that's why we expanded the scope of reparations to capture conflict, for instance, and the need for Africa to take ownership of their natural resources, including land and water. So that was how we came about the theme.
Can we say that this discussion might also be in the next time a call for the Afro descendant? Because last week we were sitting with the Venezuelan embassy who were also speaking about the same fight.
That's why I'm saying it's not just about continental Africa. It is about Africans. But I also believe that the quest for reparation should not just be a demand for Africans only. We also have some parts of the world that also suffer the same way that Africans suffer. But the African Union elite, with the members of the African Union, comprised of about 54 states, came together and they decided that not only this year, but that the next 10 years will be dedicated to pursuing justice, reparatory justice for Africans.
So, how can the African Union strengthen its agency in global politics through research and advance-based policy making.
And that is why we are here. And if you look around the room, we have people from all spheres of life. We have the academics, the academic community, think tank community. We even have conventional teachers. We have policy makers. We have members of the African Union and also members of the agencies of the African Union. And we were also fortunate to partner with the African Union ECOSOC, the African Union AUDA NEPAD, who are the agencies of the African Union. So we believe that the African Union for so long have been analyzed from the outside. You have researchers that are not inside speaking about the African Union, but with us, we just believe that we should establish an African Union studies. We should be like an academic program where people will learn about the African Union, research about the working modalities of the African Union. We learn about their weaknesses and find a way to strengthen, their performance. And that's why I believe that the African Union will perform better when we have academics relating with policymakers, with the diplomatic community, the civil society organization, feeding into that wide spectrum of the knowledge base, even for the African Union.
So, from this symposium, what key policy acting you expect from the African Union organs like the ODAs, the NEPAD, and the ECOSOC?
Sometimes it's difficult to predict what will be the outcome of a meeting like this. But from the discussion since yesterday, I think we are beginning to see new consciousness, not from top down to bottom, but from bottom up. Africans are trying to take hold of their destiny. They want to take ownership of their natural resources. They want to see a more functional African Union acting as that potent, not just agency, but an important agency to promote peace and security on the continent, drive development, and also be a more formidable voice in multilateral forums, may it be the United Nations, the G20, and across board. That's what I'm sure will come out of this meeting is how to strengthen the African Union.
How do we translate academic dialogue into political change across the continent?
Thank you so much. We are not politicians, we are not policy makers, but what we tend to do is to have different outputs that will be able to be disseminated among different actors across the continent and even beyond. For the policy makers, there will be a policy brief that will possibly be packaged in a way that they can familiarize with them with the text. And when they read it, sometimes it effect changes. We have newspaper editorial that will speak to some of our political class that would not be able to read a 800-page book, but we reach them through maybe newspaper. But one thing we will also do in this conference is that the recommendations and the findings will be presented before the African Union, where we will have all the 54 member states of the African Union representing their countries. So the political class will be familiar with whatever recommendations we have here. And for the think tank, for the researchers on the field, we will have an edited book whereby it's like a knowledge-based knowledge pool for them to also begin to read about some of what we are discussing here. So I think even TV interviews, we still conducted one yesterday. So we have different strategy to reach everybody with the findings from this symposium.
So that is a question from our production in terms of the vision of your symposium. Will we be able to see people, activists, Pan-African activists, to be included in this type of discussion, to have the ground experience?
Absolutely. And the keynote speaker just right now is somebody from the ground. He just told us, I'm not an academic, I'm not a doctor, but we have chosen him to be the keynote so that he can speak to us about what is happening on the ground. We have realized that there's a discord from what the community think and what our elite and even sometimes academics. And that's why, apart from what we do, we also try to conduct field study where we go to the community and begin to aggregate their thought about different issues. on Africa. And the reparation question is also one of the pertinent issues, particularly resource-wealthy communities. Many of them that have been displaced because of the aggressive activities of multinational companies and in connivance with some of our member states, some of the African Union member states. So that's the only way we think we can integrate the community into the discourse.
Thank you for your time, Professor, and
Thank you so
see you
much.
next year.
Thank you so much.